Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Hero Show. Nick here with you. And in this video, I will be covering episodes 2 and 3 from Season 2 of C, premiering on Apple TV Plus, starring Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista. If you're new to the channel here, we'd love your support for free. If you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that bell for all future content, and get a nice little notification from YouTube there. If you haven't seen the show, go ahead and catch on up and come back here. Or if you just want to see what the show is more about, then let's continue on. I will be going over full spoilers from episodes 2 and 3 here, so let's kind of just dive right in, shall we? For starters, I want to say that this show has gotten a lot better from the prior season in Season 1. When the first season came out, I was excited to see what the show had to offer. As a new show on Apple TV Plus, when Apple decided to launch their streaming platform. Obviously a big fan of Jason Momoa, but the Season 1 was just so, it dragged on a bit, and I understand it was trying to set up the world, kind of get people involved, and explain the whole setting with the different peoples and whatnot. But this season has gotten a lot better now that things are sort of established, which kind of is how a good show is supposed to be written. But one of the things about this show, especially in this season, things have gotten a lot bloodier, a lot more violent. So I'm okay with that personally. I know some people might not be, so this might not be the show for you. But if you're okay with the violence and some of the horrific murders that happen and the killings, then you might appreciate what this show does have to offer. One of the things I want to talk about here is with Ren and Haniwa and their relationship, as Haniwa is interesting, so to speak, because Haniwa is the captive from Ito Voss, Baba Voss's brother. Ren's in charge to kind of keep her captive and make sure she doesn't step out of bounds. But the interesting thing is that Ren also can see, as Haniwa can see, and they have a little bit of a romantic relationship. They, share a lot of the same things because of they can see and whatnot. Granted, Haniwa has a little bit more experience with being able to read, as she starts to read Alice in Wonderland to Ren. And I kind of wonder what's going to happen with this. She doesn't escape with Haniwa. Ren lets her go, along with Baba Voss and the other gentleman whose name is escaping me right now, but I'll remember in just a moment here. Tamaki Jun, sorry. And at one point, Ito Voss might suspect that Ren was the one who betrayed the Travantians and him by letting Haniwa go. He might have an idea, as he states. Ren is sort of fearful at the in this episode 3 rather. So I wonder, what do you guys think? Do you think Ren should have just left as well? Sure, it would have spelled out that she betrayed Ito Voss and the Travantians, but at that point, maybe it would have been a little bit easier for the remaining members of the Alkeni. Maybe some help with Princess Magra and the Pyens to kind of withstand what the Travantians might throw at them later this season. I wonder if Ren might get killed. I'm sure it's very possible, and if I had to guess, I'd say at some point Ito Voss is probably going to have Ren tortured and killed. Whether or not Haniwa sees it or not, she might hear of it. It might happen right before her eyes, but I wonder if Ren's having second thoughts about leaving. She might escape too. There's that possibility that she might try to escape and join forces with Haniwa and kind of live their sighted life together. So, that being said, the torture scenes that do happen in episode 2 are pretty gnarly, and I gotta say the scenes that we do see in episode 2, and partially with episode 3 with Ito Voss. I mean, Dave Bautista, I think, is definitely killing it so far this season. I think he's a great addition to the show. But the scenes between Jason Momoa and Ito Voss, or rather Dave Bautista, have been really great to see. I think they've got great chemistry together. Dave Bautista is a great villain. Corey on the show, he basically said that Dave Bautista was a villain in the wrestling world for a number of years, which I never watched Dave Bautista in his wrestling days. I just knew of him in wrestling, so I can't really speak to that, but I'll trust Corey's word on this. Another interesting part that we see in episode 3 that obviously carries over from episode 2 is Toad, who is escorting Kofun along with 2 of Toad's men as they're instructed to guide Kofun back to Pensa. Unfortunately, Toad's men disagree as they hate witches and they try to kill Kofun. Toad saves Kofun's life, kills one of them, lets the other one escape. I thought it was interesting, though, because Kofun says you had a choice to let him die or to save him, and he chose to save him. So I'm kind of interesting to see what else Toad has to offer. I kind of like his character, and I wonder if maybe Kofun's sort of friendship, or maybe if there's a friendship that sort of evolves between the 2 of them, since Toad did save his life. One of the other interesting things about this show so far, including season 1, are the sisters with Magra and Sibith, or Queen Kane. I've never really been a big fan of Queen Kane. I think the actor who portrays her does a great job. I think anytime you don't like a character that is sort of, I don't want to say evil, but just has this way that you don't like what she's doing, because there's power and greed and control and mischievous, devious ways of trying to persuade people into thinking something that's not actually the truth. She does that very well, and it's written well in this show. There's a number of interactions between the 2 of them in season 2 so far, in episode 2 and episode 3. I think Sibith might be overreaching a bit. I dare say she's a little crazy, especially after she kills the woman, after she basically has a miscarriage. She kills Boots, which I didn't really understand the whole point of that. Not for the story's sake, but from her sake. Like, hey, listen, miscarriages happen. You just have another kid. Have Boots give you another kid that can see. I think she kind of ruined that, especially now that we know that Jerla Morel is dead. He gets killed at the end of this episode of episode 3. So who's going to produce more sighted children now? Maybe Kofun is going to have a piece of this. I don't know. At the same time, I think she does have this kind side, because we do see her crying in the arms of her sister, Magra, when they have that conversation about agreeing to marriage with Lord Harlan and Magra. And that's another interesting I'll touch on in just a moment. But there's a moment where Harlan has an interesting thing that I want to talk about in front of Sibith, when he has Zakan, who was a man from Kanzua, and he comes before Harlan, and obviously, if you know the scene I'm referring to, Queen Kane's sitting there, and the one thing that Harlan does is he slices his neck, cuts out his tongue, gives the tongue to Sibith. Sibith feeds the tongue to the dog, which is pretty interesting. But talking about the relationship between Harlan and Sibith, and then Harlan and Magra, there's a lot of scheming involved, what it seems like. You've got Harlan and Magra, who have this sort of agreement, whether it's based on trust or underestimating one another. Listen, all Magra wants is her kids and Baba Voss to be protected. She wants to be reunited with them. Baba Voss is her true husband. And Harlan says that's okay, as long as we agree to the marriage. There won't be any wedding, which he says is fine. And that they'll be the ones to announce it. But then the queen finds out, or gets told rather. I don't know if maybe Harlan told her or someone else was listening in behind the walls that we just didn't see in the actual scene itself. But I also want to think that it might be Harlan, because Harlan did meet with Queen Kane and kind of said that it'll be done and it'll get taken care of. So I kind of wonder if he did tell her, which we didn't see, so that remains a mystery, and maybe we'll find out on the next episode or two as to how this all happened, but what it means though, because Magra is not fond of her sister going to war, and she wants her to be out of the city for Lord Harlan's sake, as Lord Harlan wants his city back. So it seems like a doable thing. It seems like it's a good trade-off, but I don't know if it'll actually go down that way. I think things will probably go astray, because that just makes drama, and drama is good for television, right? So I want to say it's Harlan, as he has his own plan, his own agenda, and the thing about him slicing the neck from Zakan, the guy who was from Kanzua, and he says it wasn't the Travantians that attacked and destroyed the dam and flooded everything, and as he's afraid to speak, he says and insinuates that it was the Queen, which if you saw season 1, we know that it was Sibith who did that, because she again might be a little kooky. And so without hesitation, Harlan, again slices his neck and then cuts out his tongue. So I want to say he did that to not necessarily impress Queen Kane, but to show his loyalty, gain his trust. But also, again, he could have potentially used that information to spread and fan the flames, kind of like Sibith says to Magra in their conversation about he could use something to his advantage, or he could fan the flames and cause a lot of chaos. So I was kind of wondering why he didn't just spare him a little bit, but then maybe kill him later. Instead, he just, again, without hesitation, just yeeted his neck, and that was it. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. If there's anyone else that survived, maybe, but I kind of highly doubt it, even though Sibith knows the truth, and now we obviously know the truth. But a little bit more on the sisters, I'd say, as far as what happens next when we see Hanawa and Baba Voss return. I'm wondering what Queen Kane is going to say, as she thinks that they're dead, says that they're dead. I'm kind of wondering what that's going to bring, right? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that there's going to be some chaos? Do you think that these cited individuals with Hanawa and Kofun are going to be taken well from the people there in Pensa, or are they going to be continued to viewed as witches, even though the rumor is that Queen Kane has said that no, people who can see are no longer to be referred to as witches, and they will no longer be hunted. So again, we'll see where that ends up going. A couple small points, along the journey to Pensa with Tamakta Jun and Baba Voss and Haniwa. There's the battle with the slavers, with the pens that are made of the god bone. And Paris comes to the rescue with the rest of the women of the compass, who are guardians of the sighted, and that's actually, we get a little bit more backstory from Paris, as she was once one of them, but she thinks that she failed, and another one of the compass guardians says, no, it's not your fault, stop blaming yourself. And again, that battle was pretty gnarly, and cool to see some of the deaths in that. But I think there's a cool conversation between Paris and between Haniwa, and just about how bigotry can't be ended by a decree, and how people who are sighted are the ones that are hated, and then once the sighted are populated enough, they'll be the ones that might do the hating of the people who can't see. But I think there's a way to stop all that, and that just is sort of ending on the turmoil between just all the hate. But I thought that conversation that they had is very interesting. It's obviously very relatable, in our actual life here. But again, it's really based off all on perspective, and no pun intended, but in how we see each other. I think, regardless of people who are blind and can't see versus people who can see, and that there's a lot to gain from one another. Whereas even on that trail and the journey where Hani was walking and she doesn't see anything, but Baba Voss, is telling June also to be quiet because, again, the gift of smell. And maybe just being that experienced and hearing a little bit more, and then of course the slavers come out and they don't escape, and the rest is history. A little bit more about Drilla Morel. His coins have emptied. His time is up, and when Ido Voss makes a surprise visit, he gets his throat sliced. And his son Alaman is kind of left to do the bidding from them for now on, as another one of the sided boys that Drilla Morel has produced. So it'll be interesting to see what's in store for Alaman. And something else that gets talked about briefly in episode 2 was the sightseeing project, or rather the children and people that can see there. And Ren says it's part of Ido's sort of project there, and I think the interesting thing is a lot of people don't know about it, maybe unless there are people on the inside. So I wonder if that gets exposed a little bit more, and kind of, I guess, what ends up happening, because I think at one point we're going to see a battle. I think war is inevitable in this season. It should be pretty bloody, and I kind of wonder again who's going to come out on top. I really do hope that Dave Bautista as Ido Voss continues portraying this role. I would hate to see him only in one season. I think if he gets a good enough contract, and I'm not too sure right at this moment if he was just offered to do one season, because again, I think when that gets released in the public, that knowledge can actually be a little spoiling, because you think, well, he's only on for one season of the show. So we know at the end of the season he's going to die, which really takes a lot out of the story. It takes the cushioning out of the pill that we get to sit on and actually watch the show. So I do hope that for the sake of the story, the acting, the chemistry, and further seasons of the show, that Ido Voss remains on, so Dave Bautista does continue portraying him. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think there's going to be a war at some point in this season between the Travantians and Payans? Do you think that Harlan is going to betray one of the sisters or both of them? Do you think Baba Voss is going to kill June at some point, because he said he would after he escaped jail together? Do you think that Kofun is going to sort of be persuaded into gifting the queen with more sighted babies, since he is a male that can see? Or do you think there's going to be something else involved with that? Do we think that the marriage will actually happen? Do you think, again, Harlan gets what he wants? Do you think he dies? I know we're only 3 episodes in, and we've got a little bit ways to go before the season ends. Leave your comments below. I'd like to see what other people do think. I know they said that this is one of the, Apple's most popular show, even above Ted Lasso, which I know is really popular. So, but again, hit us up if you have any questions, if there's anything else you want to know about the show. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.